We're going to start right at 6:30. Yeah, and I'll address everybody first.
You want to leave it live, or you want me to go mute it and turn your
You can shut it off. How you shut it off?
It's on right now. Just leave it on. I'll go mute it.
Just mute it.
Get a
We're probably 20 plus questions already, so
Okay.
that's a
All right.
good thing. I told her to hang on to any future questions. When I got through this, she can just start handing them out.
Okay. Okay. All right. I will do the welcome and then
It's on.
hit that. It's on.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rich just hasn't said anything. You just, when you're ready, just look at him and he'll turn your audio up for you. Okay?
All right. Okay.
All
Thanks.
set.
Hello, everyone. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. My name is Becky Guffin, and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Porter County. We are sponsoring this event in conjunction with Valparaiso Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Rex, for your support. I just want to say one thing. As you were coming in, people were handing out cards for questions that are going to be submitted to the candidates. As the debate or as the forum goes on, if you have more questions, and sometimes what happens is you say, I don't really have anything, and then they start talking and you go, oh yeah, I got something. So just raise your hand, and we have a couple of high school volunteers, ladies in the back, and then another League of Women Voter volunteer that just raise your hand and they will bring you a card and a pen if you need it, and then they will pick it up and we will give it to the moderator. So now I'd just like to introduce Rex from the Chamber. He has a few words.
Thanks, Becky. Sponsoring and co-sponsoring debates with candidates for local office is one of the primary objectives of the Chamber of Commerce, because these ladies and gentlemen will have a big impact on the policies and how our community continues to grow and thrive. So I wish all four of you a lot of luck, and I want to thank all four of you for making that big step to run for City Council.
Thank you, Rex.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Carroll, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's debate, which means I get to read the questions and kind of monitor how the answers are done. Previous to starting tonight, the candidates gathered with me in the corner, and we pulled numbers out of a Nutella bag, I think, and we have an order in which they will speak. Now, I will rotate that order. So we have candidate 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the next question I'll start with 2, 3, 4, and then we'll go to 1. At least I'll try to continue to do that. So, and thank you for submitting your questions. I see we have over 25 questions that have been submitted already, and so that's great. And each candidate will be given 1 minute to answer. There are no rebuttals, and I'm going to go through some of the protocol and the rules. These rules and protocols are set up by the League of Women Voters, and they're done, I believe, pretty much on a nationwide basis for forums and debates. And so I just want to let you know what the rules are, so I'll read them through. Candidates were going to be given 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute to answer questions, and 1 minute for a closing statement. All candidates have been invited to participate, and a chair with their name on it will remain in place regardless of whether or not they attend. And I think they're all here, so that's a good thing. No proxy representation for candidates is allowed. After opening statements, I'll pose questions from the audience to each candidate one at a time. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer. If you have a question for candidates, raise your hand. Someone will bring a card to you. And we hope that your Palmer method is good or your printing is good so we could read the question, so I can read the question. No questions will be taken verbally from the audience. The screeners, those who take your questions and review them, look for two things: duplication and civility, because we want these proceedings to be about civil discourse. Once your questions passes the screeners, it'll be brought to me. If your question is for a particular candidate, please write their name on it. Otherwise, I'll try to spread the questions out evenly amongst the candidates. There will be no time for rebuttals and no immediate follow-up questions. If you have another question, you must write it on another card and submit it. No campaign materials of any kind are allowed inside the candidate forum proceedings, and this includes hats, shirts, buttons, flyers, posters. It's not a campaign rally, but a forum intended to inform the voters on the issues. So if you enter with such materials, you'll be asked to remove them or put them out of sight. Regarding audio and video broadcast of tonight's forum, unless you receive written permission from the League, please turn off all electronic recording devices. That includes your cell phones, so now is a good time to turn them all off. There will be no clapping. That only takes away from candidate time to give you answers on these important questions. The candidates, as I said, have chosen numbers from a hat, and the order to speak will be as follows. Starting with the opening statements, Matt Murphy will be first, followed by Ellen Capitan, Michelle Harris, and then Emily Hunt. So thank you for attending, and we'll get right to it. Just so you know, we are being streamed live by the Living Hope Church Facebook page. I'm not sure if the Chamber Facebook page is we're not doing that tonight. The League of Women Voters and the Chamber. Thank you, Stephanie, the miracle worker from the Chamber. Stephanie, she knows all. So thank you very much. So we may, and I'm not sure, take questions from Facebook comments. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing that tonight or not. But in any case, we have a lot of questions to get through, so we're going to get started. Rich, here's your microphone. There you go, bud. Thank you.
Okay. We'll start with opening statements, and we'll start with Matt Murphy. 1 minute, Matt.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the Valparaiso Chamber of Commerce, Pastor Schmidt, and Tom for helping out this evening. Appreciate that. I'm Matt Murphy, and I'm running for Valparaiso City Council. I'm running for City Council for the same reason I ran for mayor 4 years ago. I truly believe that Valpo is the star of Northwest Indiana, that we are headed on the right path, on the right track, and on the right trajectory as a community. And if elected to the City Council, I will do everything in my power, in my lane on council, to help continue the city on that path. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. To those of you that are here tonight and for those watching at home, I'm grateful not only for you, but for your dedication for the future and the progress of this city. Thank you, Porter County League of Women Voters. Thank you, Valpo Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Tom, for being here. And thank you, Living Hope Church. It's incredible to be here at a place that serves the community so well, from events to housing people. You guys really make a difference here. My name is Ellen Capitan. My priorities in city government are transparency, accountability, and community engagement. I serve on the Porter County Museum Foundation Board. I'm the president of the Central Neighborhood Association. I'm a CASA volunteer. I'm a fourth-year president for South Shore Roller Derby, and I currently work with recycling and waste reduction of Porter County. I'm here because I'm ready to be your representative on City Council. I've been diving into the city and the works for the past 4 years. I've attended many city council meetings. I've shadowed the job, I understand the job, and I want the job. I'm excited to share more and work together for a common goal of a greater Valparaiso.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle.
My name is Michelle Harris, and I've lived in Valparaiso for over 15 years. I graduated from Ball State University with an undergrad in public relations and journalism, and I have a master's of ed from Valparaiso University. I've been an English teacher with Valparaiso Community Schools for over 10 years, teaching English at both Thomas Jefferson Middle School and Valparaiso High School. I serve as a Valparaiso High School Student Council sponsor, and I participate in many fun extracurricular activities with the kids. I'm also a member of our Valparaiso Teachers Association. I'm an active member of Temple Israel, and I serve as our board secretary. I'm married to Chuck Harris, the Porter County Recorder, also a public servant. We have a blended family with 3 children. My pastimes include ballroom dancing and watching football, but my true passion for Valparaiso lies in the fact I came here as a young mother, a young single mother, and I was able to teach, raise my daughter, and be a part of this incredible community.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
Thanks so much. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Chamber and, of course, Living Hope Church for having us tonight. My name is Emily Hunt. I live in Valparaiso with my husband and our 2 kids. I'm an estate planning and elder law attorney. and a member of the Boys and Girls Club PALS Board. I'm also the president of the Center Township Trustees Foundation Board, working on initiatives that work directly with Valparaiso and Center Township's most underserved populations. I'm an unapologetic advocate for our children's safety. I've worked directly with the schools and law enforcement throughout the state and nationally on common sense steps that we can take to keep our kids and our schools safe and keep guns out of their hands. I'm running for city council because I believe in being transparent, accountable, and responsive. And I believe that that's part of the job that's not getting done. In my job, I'm required to ask hard questions and give truthful answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. All right, we'll get right to the questions. And we're going to start with Ellen. What is your vision for downtown Valparaiso? And each of you can answer this question as well. Ellen?
Thank you, Tom. As a resident of downtown Valparaiso, I love it. I love downtown, and I love what it has to offer our current residents. I think this question leads us to talking about the new progress of downtown, the transformation of downtown. And while I do believe there's a time and a place for high density and transformative growth, I do feel, and I share this with a lot of my neighbors and folks that I've spoken with during this campaign, that we do have to do things in step and make sure that our infrastructure, our foundation of the city, is in place before we continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle Harris.
I think that our vision for a long-term downtown plan is set to implementation of goals and ensure its future vitality. I think there is a lot of potential growth down there that can also help businesses that are already there. With the new current growth, a lot of our local businesses were asked if they were going to appreciate that and if that would help their businesses. And many were excited and looking forward to new growth, new housing, new potential office space, and other things that would come from that. In order to keep a vibrant, bright, safe downtown, we have to make sure that we have it maintained and that we have people down there living, eating, shopping, and thriving in our community.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily.
Well, who doesn't love our downtown? It's great. And they've done a great job. Our city has done a great job developing our downtown. It is a place that people want to come. It is a place that people enjoy, and I think that's wonderful. But I think it's also important to make sure that we're paying attention to other issues in this city. I think we have a hyper focus on our downtown that has taken away from more of our underserved populations. And so my vision for downtown is to continue the growth that we've seen, to continue to promote small businesses, specifically with new business owners that aren't connected to anybody currently sitting on council or on commissions or committees, and to spend some of that time and energy on the people who need it most.
Thank you, Emily. Matt Murphy.
Yeah, I grew up in the Central neighborhood as a kid, enjoyed riding my bike downtown. I love downtown Valpo. It's part of who I am. It's been such a special place for me growing up and living in Valparaiso. I want to see it continue to thrive and be vibrant. When I was a kid, it wasn't quite so thriving. We had a lot of empty storefronts, and so a lot of work was done by previous administrations to turn that ship around, and through careful planning and many iterations of planning, we have made, I think, some wise investments in our downtown, and we're seeing the private sector now step up and invest as well, which is going to help our merchants, help our small business owners, and I'm excited about seeing more housing in downtown, in and around downtown, and it's going to be a great place to live.
Thank you, Matt. On to our next question, and this will be for Michelle Harris. What are you planning on doing within your first 30 days? All of you can answer this question as well. Michelle?
So one of my passions, and the thing that I think is something that we could do a better job with, is communication. I think our community has an incredible amount of resources and opportunities for our citizens, and I just don't know that our citizens are aware of them. And I don't know if that means having a website or having a newsletter. We don't really have a newspaper that's dedicated to Valparaiso. I think we need better communication about what we currently have to offer so that citizens of all ages, sizes, shapes, colors can appreciate and take advantage of our community. I know that oftentimes when I email parents or the school emails parents, a lot of people don't love technology, right? So they're not on Facebook, and sometimes that isn't always truthful. So I'd like to find a way to better communicate with our citizens about all that Valparaiso has to offer, including our nonprofits.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily, same question.
Thank you. So during my first 30 days, the first thing I would do would be to meet with our new mayor and determine what his or her vision is, and specifically how we can work together. I hope to see a balanced government, I hope to see a balanced council, and I hope to see more progress in our council in working together rather than the lack of discussion that I think we're seeing right now. Other than that, I think that to continue to talk to voters and to talk to our community members, I really enjoy getting the news through Valpo Talk and other communications that go out to let us know what the city is, and I look forward to meeting the rest of the council.
Thank you, Emily. Matt Murphy.
Yeah, I think the first 30 days is going to be assessing who's on the council and spending time trying to build some relationships there, find some common ground, ask the new mayor what support they need, those types of things early on council. Those would be where I would put my time and effort. The council is a body, and you have to work together to get anything done. One person can have their own agenda and not be very effective. So you've got to work together, find common ground, and then decide, okay, we can negotiate here and find compromise, and those relationships are important to build. And I think the city council right now has that. They've got overall a really good collegial attitude, and they work together well. So I think it's very important. Civility, collegiality is important on the city council.
Thank you, Matt. Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. In the first 30 days on council, I, like my colleagues up here, look forward to meeting the new folks that are serving our residents. I look forward to building those relationships. One of my strengths is in team building and in building community, so it'll be fun to get to learn all of our strengths and see how we can lead the future of Valparaiso. For my campaign personally, I would love to make sure that everyone knows exactly how to get a hold of me, what to expect when we're communicating. Doing text banking, I spent hours just texting back, and I loved it. I love talking to the people that have something to say and are looking to make the future better for everyone. Through all that, I will continue to build buy-in with my constituents and continue to have community involvement leading us to make great decisions for all of Valparaiso. I don't know if it'll be in 30 days, but I do look forward to exploring a sustainability commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Next question. If elected, how will you work to ensure that everyone who lives and works in Valparaiso can afford to keep living here? And we're going to start with Emily Hunt.
That's a great question. And I think probably one of the biggest issues that Valparaiso is facing. 65 and up is our fastest growing population. We've seen a lot of developments go up, and we've seen now a new high-density apartment building go up. I don't know about anybody here, but that's not serving my 65-year-old mother, who is older than that, by the way. But don't tell her I said that. In any case, so to ensure that they are getting the resources they need, I know we have housing studies. I know we don't need any housing studies. We know what population needs to be served, and we need to make sure that we are not just giving developers incentives, but also giving developers incentives to provide and build those lower cost attainable housing.
Thank you very much, Emily. Matt Murphy.
Yeah, I would say Valparaiso is one of the most affordable communities in Northwest Indiana. We have some of the highest rent-controlled units in Northwest Indiana, with the exception of Gary, Hammond, and East Chicago. The notion that Valparaiso is not affordable is just simply not true. We do a ton of Section 42, Section 8. We have senior housing, affordable housing project going in right now at Green Oaks on Route 30. We just recently added workforce housing to Uptown East. We've got it all over the city, and I think one of our strengths in Valparaiso is that we do have affordable units, but we also have entry-level homes. We have high-density apartments. We also have some nicer upscale neighborhoods as well. I think that balance is important in a community, and I think we should strive to maintain that balance.
Thank you, Matt. Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. To keep people living in Valparaiso and keeping Valparaiso affordable, as we may be affordable compared to other places, I want to remind everyone here and at home that the median sale price is $335,000 and median rent is $1,295. The per capita income in Valparaiso per our census was only $34,000. So that's something to keep in mind when we talk about affordability. While there are options, then the question or follow-up question I have for folks is, why am I continuing to hear that there is an issue, and how can we address that and make sure people know that the resources are there and make sure they are using resources as they need them? In order to keep people living here, we have to keep our downtowns and our neighborhoods thriving and bustling and make sure they have the resources they need while still having conversations with folks and making sure we're meeting their needs, not just assuming we're meeting their needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle Harris. No clapping, please.
So I think that we have all seen a large influx in move-in over the last few years, and I think that part of the issue is simple supply and demand. We do need more housing. We need more housing of all shapes and sizes. We need to have neighborhoods that have duplexes and entry-level homes and ranches and two-story homes and larger homes, so that as people are retiring and coming out of their bigger homes, they're able to go into a ranch if that's what they so choose, and be able to stay and live in Valparaiso. And that way you have stair-stepped homes, and hopefully that creates openings. In order to do that, we also have to add that housing, right? Supply and demand. Right now, we have a lot of demand and not a lot of supply in the entry-level to mid-range homes. I think that that's going to be key, is making sure that we have neighborhoods where people can thrive and grow, their families can grow, and then if they so choose to retire and stay in wonderful Valparaiso, that there is somewhere for them to go that is age appropriate and level.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to stay on the topic of housing. Here's another question. Should the City Council address the use of houses for short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods? And we'll start with Matt Murphy.
I really have not given this a lot of thought. We've had a couple of instances of Airbnbs come up, but it just hasn't been a real hot topic at City Hall, so I really don't have much of an opinion on Airbnbs in the city of Valparaiso.
Ellen Capitan.
Perfect, thank you. I was thinking of all the great Airbnbs that I've stayed at. I think short-term rentals are a great idea. I think they bring people into town that can experience our downtown and our neighborhoods in a different way. I've seen a lot in the news that there's feedback on Airbnb and what that's doing to neighborhoods. And I think, yes, that City Council should be aware of this. We need to make sure we're keeping our lines of communication open. And we need to encourage good neighborhoods and good neighbors to make sure that they know who to talk to about if there is a complaint, a noise complaint, parking complaint, so that those can be addressed and that people can still have these short-term rentals, Airbnbs, as income as well. I think they're very inviting, and I think they're they make our town accessible to a lot of visitors.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle Harris.
I agree with Ellen, almost 100%. I think it's wonderful. I think if we can maintain it and it's sustainable and it's safe and it keeps our residents safe and it doesn't cause neighborhoods problems, issues, and drama, I think it's a wonderful opportunity, especially with our downtown that has so much to offer. We have people coming into town for a variety of reasons, and we also have a university that has a lot of international students with parents who might be coming over for an extended period of time. So I think that that would, be a great way to accommodate, people in different situations.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
Indiana has a statute that doesn't allow you to restrict or prohibit short-term housing. So starting with that, knowing that we wouldn't be able to do that, we would be able to make sure that as a council, we passed our own ordinance that could limit the scope of who can, or how many short-term rentals there could be in a particular neighborhood, how long those short-term rentals can really exist, and define those parameters to make sure that it's not having the negative impact on our communities that those rentals can have.
Thank you. I'm going to stay on the topic of housing. In this case, it's about homelessness. Homelessness has become a real problem in our city. What resolution would you offer to get this under control? And we start with Ellen.
Thank you. Homelessness, housing insecurity is the #1 feedback that I have been getting from texting, conversations, phone calls. It is an issue, and we have actually a really great community of people that are concerned about that. And we have a great community of nonprofit and church resources, like Living Hope Church. I don't think that this all should be falling on the nonprofits, and I do think the city has a responsibility to our community and to our residents to find solutions, whether it's helping with housing, with rehabilitation programs, or simply making sure we have resources available. I believe that is something that the city can do. There are states and cities that use different indexing and assistance tools to determine risks from these people experiencing homelessness. And I don't think that we can make progress in this realm without making sure we have those conversations with those folks and making sure they're represented in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle Harris.
So I have a very specific feeling about this. I think that it is great if we can have housing and put homeless in housing. But I think that that is a base, like at the lowest base. I think if we are going to do that, we have to come up with some sort of programming that helps them become self-sustaining. I think something like, as long as they're in the housing, they're going to financial literacy classes, they're going to trade school, they are being educated so that eventually, 6 months to a year and a half later, they're able to support themselves. The goal is to build people, right? Not to keep them held down. So I think it could be a wonderful program if we have the resources and a very specific program available to help them graduate from that.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
I agree with Michelle that providing additional resources beyond just a shelter to people experiencing homelessness is important and part of an obligation that we as a city have to our residents. To that end, I think putting conditions on how long you can stay and what you must attain and where you have to go can get really sticky, specifically because each person experiencing homelessness is in a different situation that we don't know about. Quite often, those experiencing homelessness are victims of domestic violence that may need additional time and resources before they're able to get out and become self-sustaining. So to that end, I think it is very important to provide additional resources beyond just shelter.
And Matt Murphy?
Yeah, Valparaiso tends to attract a larger number of homeless, I think, on average than other communities because we have not-for-profits in Valparaiso that serve those communities, housing opportunities, for example. Porter Stark occasionally is dealing with homeless people. So when they fill up and don't have room, I think we're seeing they're being turned away. And so we're seeing them in the community, and that's just part of having housing opportunities in Porter Stark and not-for-profits that serve them. And so I think the one area that we need to focus on is a men's shelter. Right now we have a PADS program for these gentlemen only in the winter months. And so the city is beginning to partner with the Respite House to construct a 12-bed men's homeless shelter. The city is going to donate the land, and we are working with Ton and Blank to raise the money to construct this so that we can serve the Valparaiso men homeless population.
Thank you, Matt. Next question is about infrastructure. What are you going to do about the old sewer lines in Valparaiso, especially in the older neighborhoods? And we're going to start with Michelle Harris.
So full transparency, I do not have a ton of knowledge on this. This is not something that I have looked heavily into. I do know that when I went through the Valparaiso City Academy, they did talk about the variety of options that we could have and the intensity in which that would take time-wise and expense-wise. I know that they have looked into different things, and I know that there are ways to do it, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm educated on them. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
Aging infrastructure is an issue, and especially in a city like Valparaiso, and especially in Valparaiso. So devoting attention and resources to that aging infrastructure is imperative, especially when those needs fall in the context of basic needs like water. I think that, as I mentioned before, our current administration has a hyper focus on developing the big shiny new issues, and until we start addressing the infrastructure, we can't keep building. It'll all crumble. So I would support any initiatives, any ability to redirect some of those incentives that we're giving developers on the big projects and redirect those to that aging infrastructure.
Thank you, Emily. Matt Murphy.
Yes, we certainly do have aging infrastructure in the city, and I'm proud to say we've addressed a lot of it. We have tackled many flooding issues in the city of Valparaiso. We tackled 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we had 17 projects that we went after and solved flooding in people's homes, and we've done a lot of infrastructure work in the city that we can look back, and we need to continue to do it. It's just part of running a city. We've got a strong utility, and we tackle these problems as they arise. Sometimes you have main breaks. You never know where they're going to pop up, but we have the funds to fix them, and we do that. We also address sidewalks and roads. We've paved 30 miles of roads in the last 4 years. We have 170 miles, so we've made tremendous progress there.
Thank you, Matt. And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. I understand why this question is being asked, and I can definitely understand those concerns. As everyone up here has mentioned, infrastructure is aging. Our town is very old, so we're dealing with a lot of infrastructure from before 1900, right? So the sewer lines are definitely a big one, and I think the question really came up too when we see these lines, the water lines breaking often when there wasn't enough water pressure to put out a fire at the university campus. I think that got a lot of people's eyes open to just how detrimental letting those things go to the wayside could be. On council, I'd like to see us be proactive about these things rather than reactive. If we have the funds, if we had a lot of federal money coming through before, it would have been nice to see that dedicated to fixing what is already here, building that foundation up, and then seeing how we can progress further once we know we have water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Next question. How would you address the increased traffic and noise on Lincoln Way from delivery and construction vehicles that make our downtown experience much less pleasurable? And we're going to start with Emily Hunt.
That's a great question. Did that come from Ellen? I'm just kidding. So traffic is going to be an issue. We are developing downtown. I'm not sure how it's going to be addressed. I'm not sure if we've done that traffic study to figure out how all of the vehicle flow from in and out of that 5-story garage that is on already, in my opinion, an unmanageable intersection. What is that going to do to traffic? I don't have the answer to that, but I certainly think our council should have the answer to that before we put up a 5-story garage.
Okay, thank you, Emily. And Matt Murphy.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, on the city council, we will have really nothing to say about the traffic on Lincoln Way. That'll be the mayor and the engineering department, and we can gripe a lot, and we can comment about the loud trucks that drive by when we're sitting outside trying to enjoy our fresca dining. But it is certainly a busy road, and it's our main street, and so it's going to have a lot of traffic. And it's the job of the mayor and the city engineer to address traffic concerns on any street in the city of Valparaiso, and really would have no purview by the city council.
Thank you, Matt. Ellen Capitan.
Sorry, I have so much to say. That question, I do feel like I wrote it. I talk about this every day, sitting outside trying to have a coffee, and then it's one truck after another, after another, after another. Understanding it is the main street, and that's why we love it so much. But I do have to disagree that it's just the job of the mayor. I plan on talking to the mayor all the time. I plan on expressing these concerns that aren't just from one person. I plan on making sure that I'm available to my constituents to relay those concerns to leadership to address them. It's not going to be a one-time resolution or ordinance, I'm sure, to make sure we can cover that, but we need to work together and solve these problems. We need to work together to think about how traffic is automobile-based and not pedestrian-focused in a walkable downtown, and we need to talk about impact fees from the developers that are using these streets for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle Harris.
So I think the downtown has been noisy for a long time. My husband and I have often talked about that when we're downtown at a restaurant dining outside. And I think a lot of it is because of the buildings. The buildings before the link was going in, they're brick, right? And some are like tin. And so you have a lot of noise vibration going back and forth. And I think some of that is just structural. I don't know that I have the perfect answer for that. I mean, I'm not sure. I think some of it can be maybe tamed with some sort of noise tolerance between motorcycles revving and cars revving and things like that do cause a lot of noise. It is a heavily trafficked road, and I'm not sure the exact solution to it. I'm not saying there is not a solution or that we should not work on a solution. I'm just saying that I don't know with the structures of the building downtown that you're not going to have that vibration and echoing of noise.
Thank you very much. Next question. What qualifications would you expect of your appointments to the school board? And we'll start with Matt Murphy.
Thank you. That's really the most important question I think that this panel should be asked tonight. That, without a doubt, in Valparaiso, we have a unique appointment for the school board, and I think it's right up there with approving the budget. The appointment to the Valparaiso School Board is critical, and so for me, I'm looking at the candidate's background. Have they served on boards and commissions before? Have they served on even a council, worked together with a diverse group? They have a fiduciary responsibility, and they are on the board of directors of a $100 million organization, a large organization with a huge impact on our community. So executive experience, and really, I want to know what their thoughts are on their job is also to hire a superintendent in the event there's a vacancy. So it's a really big shoes to fill, and a lot of time needs to be spent on that process, I think, when you're on city council.
And Ellen Capitan.
Another question that we were definitely expecting. I appreciate the council's role in appointing a school board and members each year. I think it's a very serious job, and I think that the vetting process does lend itself to very high qualified candidates. I feel probably a lot of people here also watched those hearings at home, and there were a lot of very impressive folks that interviewed for this position. I think the vetting process is great. What I would like to see is that as your council representative, that we are taking your feedback and your input and using that to make sure we are vetting the school board for your best interests, not just because we know the person, but because they are committed to education and they're committed to our kids and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Harris.
So I feel like I have a unique perspective on this as I am a teacher at Valparaiso High School. One of the things that I think would be an excellent addition to the way that the candidates are interviewed is if we had some sort of, I don't know if it would be considered live, but a place where public could ask questions and then the candidates could actually answer them for the public to see. Rather than the city council vetting questions or going through those questions or trying to figure out the best questions, let the public answer the questions and let the candidates actually answer them themselves directly to the public. For me as a teacher and as someone who is affected by this directly, I think that it is super important for them to be invested in our community, to have business experience, to have board experience, to have education experience potentially, maybe potentially in some fashion, but also, you know, my passion would say, I want you invested in this community, and I want to make sure that you are doing this for the right reason, and that is to help our school system.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
This is an issue that I'm extremely invested in and passionate about. I think it's time to move to an elected school board. 4 years ago, Matt said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And from someone who sat through the most recent appointment process, it's broke. And I say that with all due respect to Mr. Sender, but I would love to see a teacher on that school board. I would love to see a parent on that school board. I've been to 9 meetings. I've sent 9 emails to that school board, and not one of them has responded to me. And all I'm asking for is for a common sense step to keep our kids safe, one that the majority of our Republicans in our state house has said is necessary, and this is safe firearm storage, by the way, that I'm asking for, that our Department of Education has said is necessary, that our state police has said is necessary, that our Porter County Sheriff has said is necessary. There's nothing to prevent that from happening except for our school board, who won't respond.
Thank you, Emily. And the next question happens to be about an elected school board. Do you think Valpo should have an elected school board? And we'll start with Ellen.
Thank you. As I was saying, the vetting process I do think is very important, and I think it gets our candidates for that to have a lot of investment into the position. But I do believe in a strong democracy, and I do believe that our voices matter. So I would really be a proponent of finding a better fit solution for our Valpo community schools. As Emily was saying, there is room for improvement, or sorry, it's broke, so we should fix it. But I do think that the quality of candidates that we saw this round, we had some really incredible people, and I don't fully agree with the choice that we made based on what I saw and what I would expect out of someone serving our children and our parents and our schools.
Thank you. Michelle Harris.
So this is something I have thought a lot about before this moment. I think that it would be okay to have a 50-50 board, 50% elected, 50% appointed. This is a state decision. This is not something that comes at the local level. It has to be done at the state level. And I believe there are signatures required, and it's a process. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying that it is not a decision that City Council makes. It's not that easy. We do have. I do think we need a different vetting process, like I said. I do think that it would be nice to have the public be able to ask questions and have the candidates directly answer to the public. We have parents on, we have business people on, we do have a diverse crowd on, but I do think that 50% elected would be an acceptable way to kind of balance that out.
Emily Hunt.
I think I already answered this. So I do support an elected school board if that means transitioning to a hybrid and transitioning slowly into that elected school board. I would support that. The school board can opt themselves into being an elected school board, and so can the city council. And if not either of those bodies, then 10% of the population. If we get 10% of our population signatures, then we send that to the clerk to be certified and put as a referendum item on the ballot. And I think that at this point, whatever way we get there, it's time. As I don't remember who stated, we have a $100 million budget. That is a huge budget to be carrying, that we don't have an elected school board. I also think an elected school board invites diversity that we're not seeing right now.
Thank you, Emily. Matt Murphy.
Yeah, it was I who said we had a school board with a $100 million budget, and the city council approves their budget. And if you could articulate to me specific educational outcomes that you will get by changing to an elected school board, I'd be open to it. But thus far, haven't heard any arguments. And Valparaiso Community Schools are top-notch. Recently, I think, ranked in the top 20 in the state of Indiana. We have an incredible school system, wonderful teachers. It is a special school system, and so I would be a little reluctant just to say, oh, because the guy that I wanted to be appointed to the school board didn't get it, that the process is bad or that we need to change to an elected school board. I need to see some more data, some more meat to that argument.
Thank you, Matt. Before we get to our next question, if our screeners have any further questions, you can bring them up at any time. Thank you. All right, let's talk about property taxes. When will our seniors over age 80 be given a big discount on our terribly high property tax? We are not getting a fair or consistent rate. And we will start with Michelle Harris.
So part of the Costas plan, and that he has talked about, is capping senior taxes. That is actually part of the plan, should he get elected and take office. So that is already something that is being worked on. It is already being talked about, and it is something that I 100% agree with, that our seniors should absolutely have capped.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
I would support a cap on senior taxes. I think any resources or any assistance we can give to our seniors is needed. To that end, I believe there already is a property tax break. I said that and pointed out earlier that 65 and up is our fastest growing population. I think it's incredibly important for Valparaiso to continue to increase our tax base, and to that end, that means that sometimes our taxes go up. So making sure that those resources that we're getting from the taxes are used responsibly and to benefit the entirety of our population, it would be incredibly important to me and one of my priorities.
Thank you, Emily. Matt Murphy.
I would need to see the impact of a cap on seniors. What would that mean for our school system? What would that mean for all the different taxing units that are benefiting from those taxes and operating? So I haven't seen the data, but I would say overall in Indiana, we have a very pro-homeowner tax structure. We have caps at 1%. Many states don't have that. So, you know, I'd need to see some more data on what that would mean for our schools, for our local governments to operate. But in general, Indiana is a very low tax state, and so we need to look at that carefully.
Thank you, Matt. And Ellen Capitan.
As someone who spent a lot of time on the assessor's office webpage looking at home values, there is a huge discrepancy there. You can compare pretty much any two houses and really see that there's a lot to be desired in terms of fairness and equitability and fair pricing across the board, or fair assessments across the board. That is county. Full transparency on that. I'm not a tax expert. I'm not sure what that looks like for the city. But like I said before, I'm willing to advocate for you and learn together, make sure we're looking at all the resources that we have available, and make sure that we're helping out those most vulnerable, whether it's 80 and over, finding ways, as Emily said, for different breaks. I know when there was the big conversations on recycling and the price up in that there was a lot of people advocating for a senior discount. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in our city to make sure we're exploring creative solutions.
Okay, did everybody get a chance on that one? Good. All right. This one's kind of a wide open question for you. And we're going to start with Emily Hunt on this. What is the thing that you believe voters are most concerned with?
That's a really great question. I think what I have been hearing the most about is housing insecurity and being concerned about what the housing market in Valpo is going to look like. Of course, those are based somewhat on national trends and things that are not Valpo-centric or in our control, but there should be a plan. And I really believe that whether it's housing, whether it's our sidewalks, whether it's our streets, whether it's our schools, to ensure that we have a council that is looking to prevent issues from happening rather than just responding to issues after they happen is incredibly important.
Thank you, Emily. And Matt Murphy.
I think the number one issue in my mind is we've got to never take our eye off the ball of public safety. I think it's real easy in Valparaiso to take that for granted because we are a safe community. We do feel safe, but we can't take that for granted. We can't stop investing in our first responders and our fire department and our police department. And we've done that. And I think it's one of the reasons we've seen such a low crime rate in the city. We've got a fantastic group of professional firemen and women and police department as well, professional, accredited, and it's so important because without safety, without feeling safe, without being safe, really nothing else matters.
Thank you, Matt. Ellen Capitan.
In my experience, speaking with people besides the housing and the insecurities there, a lot of feedback that I get is about growth and development and the impact that has on current residents. As I stated, I'm Central Neighborhood Association president. I also speak a lot with our other downtown neighborhoods like Bonta and Jesse Pfeiffer, and a lot of us share similar concerns on the growth versus our neighborhoods that are here currently. During the Elevate Valpo plan, or we can talk about the Link apartments going up. It's great to see, like I said, high density housing. There's a time and a place for it, but at the expense of what we already have needs to be discussed. Anyone who drove through any of those neighborhoods here today, you probably had to avoid a couple things to make sure you didn't hit any huge potholes. So imagine adding extra people, adding extra cars, adding extra infrastructure that way. We need to make sure we're supporting what is here now to the people that have been paying their fair share now.
Thank you, Ellen. And Michelle Harris.
I would concur that safety is the number one concern. As someone who is in the school system, I truly believe that. And I think that that is the most important thing for our city, because I think that if we are not feeling safe and we do not have first responders and fire and police at the best of the best with the best equipment, then a lot of the other things that we enjoy go away. I talked about this a little bit last night, but I fully support a safety tax for our community. I think that that is something that I can't even imagine what that money could be better spent on, other than the teachers, but the police and the fire, I can't imagine a better way to spend tax money.
Okay, and did everybody get an answer to that? Okay, good. Then we'll move on to the next question. Do you support requiring new development to pay impact fees to cover the cost for public services caused by new development? And we'll start with Matt Murphy.
We do require new developments to pay a park impact fee already, and I would support continuing the park impact fee. We also make new developments add a lot of infrastructure, and there's a ton of upfront costs to put in a subdivision or a new development. So developers the city hangs a lot of ornaments on a new project, believe me, aside from a park impact fee, I don't know what else we could hang on to the developers, or it's just increasing the cost of the home site or the apartment unit you're trying to build. So we need to be careful there.
And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. I support impact fees. No, I support impact fees. I think it's really important that we get that buy-in from developers and people coming out here. I think if someone is bringing in a new project, they should be paying for a lot of it if they want to be here. They'll get, maybe we need to work on other ways of making sure we're communicating the other benefits, work on ways of making sure that the developers understand what we expect out of them. Again, there are a lot of projects going on right now, and I think we could really harness that energy, harness those ideas and get those impact fees and make sure that the developers have a lot of buy-in with our current community.
Thank you, Ellen. Michelle Harris.
I support an impact tax. I agree that that does help the developers have buy-in in our community. I think it's important if they're going to be developing in our community that they are part of the cost process of making that happen.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt.
I also support impact fees. And these can be a really great tool, and I wish that we could be using them more. They can be used also to pay for off-site services, including local roads, schools, and parks. We're a sought-after community. Developers would like to build here. Developers want to put their developments here, and there's no reason that we shouldn't be giving them not just a reason to come here, but also our expectations of them to buy into this community that they're building in.
Thank you. Next question is pretty wide open as well. What do you believe is lacking in Valpo city government right now? And we'll start with Ellen Capitan.
Knew you were going to pick me first. What I think is lacking currently in our current city leadership is an inclusive culture. I think that would be one thing that I'd really like to spend some time working on with the new folks that are out there, making sure that we are working together and we have a decorum and respect for each other, and that we're also bringing that to our constituents. I want them to see us up there working together through, if we disagree, but still respectful. And then again, our constituents know that they can be part of this culture of bringing people in, creating solutions, and collaborating on those solutions.
And Michelle Harris?
I would like to see a more efficient way to process news that is going on within the city. I think that, I touched on this a little bit before, but I think that there is a disconnect between what the city has going on, what the city is doing, what is happening in the city, and what the citizens actually get to see, read, touch, think, feel. You know, not everybody can go to every city council meeting. Some of these projects go on for years. You know, there's several city council meetings where you would have to attend all of them to kind of connect the dots and put the puzzle pieces together. So that is the one thing that I would like to see happen. I don't know that I have the perfect answer for it, but I would like to see a way for the disconnect to be a little more connected for our community.
Thank you, Michelle. Emily Hunt?
Yeah, I would agree with Michelle that there's a disconnect. And so one of the biggest things that I see is lacking. I think that disconnect exists because of a lack of responsiveness. And I think that disconnect exists because of a lack of discussion that's happening at City Council. We have live streamed meetings. The public is invited to come to City Council meetings. I've been to several. I know Ellen has been to several. Obviously, Matt has been to several. And to that extent, what we see over and over are any issues that come up. I don't see the discussion I would like to see. I see Councilmember Cotton ask questions that mean something to me and would impact me, and I see the council stare at him and not respond. I think democracy demands discussion, and I think that we deserve that as residents, and I think we have the ability to give that to our residents and should. I think it's our obligation.
Thank you, Emily. And Matt Murphy.
Yeah, I think one area that we're constantly striving to improve, and we've done it with live streaming our meetings. Every single meeting at City Hall is live streamed, cataloged, so that you can go on and see what happened at the BZA meeting when you had to take your family to a meeting or whatever. You can go out there and grab that meeting and watch it. It's at your fingertips. That's something we've done. We're always looking for different ways to add more things to the website so that residents don't have to come down to City Hall. They're welcome to. We encourage them to, but if they don't want to, it's there on the city's website. And so that's one of the things I'm proud of. We've really upped our game with government transparency by live streaming those meetings. And in terms of debate at meetings, in my mind, the work at a city council meeting is done before the meeting, because we are sending our council members documents weeks before the meeting. They've been debating it internally, and maybe at the meeting they've already beat it to death and they don't really have anything to say. That's probably what's happening.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, next question. And this one came from Facebook. Just hot off the press right here. I'd like to know what, if anything, the candidates have planned to support our marginalized or minority communities, like the LGBTQIA plus community or our communities of color? And we will start with Michelle Harris.
So as a teacher, I live in an inclusive world, right? I have kids that are all shapes, sizes, colors, and I love them all. One thing that I love about them is that they're all unique and that they're individuals, and I think it's fantastic. But I don't think it is city government's job to tell other people what to celebrate. I am Jewish. I do not expect the city to shut down for Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, even though that is the holiest time of my year. And most people don't even know that it's going on. So while I 100% think that individuals have the right to do as they choose and live their best life and be happy and enjoy it, I think that it is not right to ask everyone else to celebrate everything. So that's my answer.
And Emily Hunt.
Thank you. I don't think anyone's asking anyone to celebrate who they are. They're asking them just to exist as they are. And I think that in a community like Valparaiso, we can do that. And I think in any community, we can do that without expectation. Representation matters. We know that Valparaiso supports diversity, and we saw that last year when voters summarily rejected a candidate who made racial implications in his fundraising letter. I'm proud of the progress we've made. I'm proud to live here, but we can do more. And I would like to take this opportunity to say to those members of the LGBTQ community, their parents, and specifically our students, that I see you, you belong here, and you're perfect.
Okay. And next will be Matt Murphy.
So the city has a Human Relations Commission. I think a lot of those issues are gonna, if I, would advise the next mayor, that's what that commission was set up for, where they specifically delve into those issues. I recently hosted a My Point of View dinner for the disability community, and inclusive, and I learned this from a young man at the dinner, inclusive means we are better together. And I believe in Valparaiso, that is the culture of this city, and that's who we are. And I reject any notion that we are a community of people that are not accepting. Every community has some knuckleheads that are, but you are shunned here if you're a bigot or you are discriminating against any group.
And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. And to all the Facebook people out there, hi. Thanks for sending that in. This is really cool. To the folks in the LGBTQA plus community, thank you for your involvement. Thank you for being brave, and thank you for speaking up, and thank you for submitting this question. I believe that there's a lot to be desired at the city level to ensure that there is diversity and inclusion. The Human Relations Council is great. And I think there are more opportunities in that vein. I think there are other coalitions that we could explore. And as I said before, we need to make sure in all of these that we are inviting people to the table that are from those communities, that have experienced those things, that can make us stronger and better together. Feedback is important, and finding solutions is also important. And we can do that if we listen to those folks. I also really supported that ordinance that was, the Pride Month in June. I support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question. And what does transparency mean to you? And we're going to start with Emily Hunt.
That's a good question, too. Transparency to me means responsiveness. Transparency to me means the ability to ask a question and expect an answer and get the answer. And I think what's happening right now, as we've even seen and I've experienced in public comment, both at our school board and also at city council, is members of the public coming. Sure, we have this ability to come and they give us time to speak, and that's wonderful and I appreciate it, but there's not a follow-up. And if you're taking your time as a citizen to show up to these meetings and ask questions that are important to you, you deserve an answer. And even if you disagree with me, that's no problem. Just explain to me why. That's what transparency means to me.
And Matt Murphy.
Transparency means sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I think in city government we have that. Every meeting, we adhere to the Indiana open door law. We're not making decisions behind closed doors in smoke-filled rooms, no matter what you read on Facebook. Those meetings are done in public. Decisions are made in public. The documentation is in the clerk treasurer's office, typically, that is available for anyone to look at. And so we embrace that in the city of Valparaiso. We embrace transparency. We encourage it. It is good for our city. And I think it's incumbent upon the next administration to continue that and look for ways to increase that. In terms of public comment at a city council meeting, it's not a public argument. It's public comment. We are listening to the public, okay? And if there needs to be a response, we'll respond. But oftentimes, it's just a statement, and it's not an argument. We are here to listen to the public. It's public comment, not public argument.
And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. To follow up on public comment, I do think that we owe each other to have a comment back or the follow-up. Mayor, I know you said that you should get follow-up, but many times you don't. Speaking as someone who has not gotten follow-up all the time when I do public comment, I think we need to nurture those relationships with people. I think we need to make sure that people know who they can speak to get answers. And I know for a fact that there are meetings that happen that after 5 minutes of the executive meeting, then there are meeting minutes. I also know for a fact that there are meetings that don't get recorded because they don't have to be, which is fine. I understand that. My favorite meeting, the traffic and safety meeting, does not need to be recorded, and it does not need to have minutes posted. That doesn't mean there aren't people that are interested in learning more about that. So we do need to listen. We do need to explore those options. And again, as Emily said, we do owe it to each other, and we owe it as leaders, and I owe it to you as your representative to communicate with you and advocate for you.
Thank you. Michelle Harris.
I agree that everything should be transparent. I don't think there has a reason to have secrets. The one thing that I think about at city council meetings is if we had debate at every city council meeting, how long that meeting would go, and how if someone was coming for one specific issue, they might end up there all night listening to another debate. Not that that's bad, but maybe there's a way to streamline that. So maybe we have a big project going on, and it's been going on for over a year, and now it's getting ready to come to fruition. So you have a roundtable specifically geared towards that project, where people who have comments, concerns, thoughts, feelings can come and address that project, rather than having to try to, again, string pieces together, puzzle pieces together over a long period of time with separate council meetings. So I think maybe having smaller round table discussions, that citizens can attend when they know there are specific topics coming up that they're interested in, would be a good way to have informal debate discussion.
Thank you, Michelle. Next question. How will you handle city contracts to prevent conflict of interest or favoring relatives and friends? And we start with Matt Murphy.
Well, city contracts are approved at the Board of Works and Safety, so that would be the mayor and their two appointments to the board. So really your purview of that would be during budget appropriations, and then once you appropriate those funds, the executive, through the Board of Works, spends them. I don't know how the city council could insert themselves in selecting a contractor that the mayor chooses. Certainly, there are laws in Indiana that must be adhered to, and they are in the city of Valparaiso. But that is, again, a Board of Public Works and Safety issue.
And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. I believe the role in city council needs to be fair and unbiased when considering bids, whether it's at city council meetings or if it's talking to your fellow appointed members that are on these different boards. To follow up on, Michelle, you had said that it's hard to follow a same project, and it really is. So when you are trying to find out more about that bid, you have to go back, you have to go through these PDFs and hope that your search works, trying to find those answers. So to remain fair and unbiased, we need to make sure those discussions are happening and that people know where to find that information and that people know that they can speak with you about their concerns and that me as your city council representative that I know enough about what's going on these other boards that I can have that discussion with you. Again, I want to be that person for you. I want to advocate for you. I want to make sure that we're all finding the answers to questions that we have.
Thank you. Michelle Harris?
I think following proper procedure is obviously the most important part of this process. If the Board of Public Works, if that is who the City Council works with and talks to for these things, then that is how it should happen. And if the Board of Public Works is the one in the final zone making these decisions, then that's how that goes. But I hope that, and I feel that it is very important for everyone to follow the appropriate channels and steps to make sure that those things in place are being taken care of.
And Emily Hunt?
I believe that to go along the lines of transparency, that ethical disclosures are necessary. I believe we have an ethics ordinance, and I'd want to make sure that that was being followed. So also, if the Board of Public Works and Safety is approving city contracts, that those proper disclosures are still being made, that city council members, even if they're not the ones approving the contract, are saying, hey, that's my cousin, hey, that's my son, hey, that's my second cousin, or whatever relationship you might have. And that is, to me, imperative, especially in a city like Valparaiso that is growing rapidly, but a lot of us have been here and a lot of us have family members here, to make sure that we aren't giving contracts to family members and keeping this circle really tight.
Thank you. Next question. What is the best documented practice to reduce speeding and unsafe driving? And we're going to start with Ellen Capitan.
Is this multiple choice? No.
I think so.
I'm a huge advocate for pedestrian safety. Shout out to anyone here that's in my neighborhood or has to listen to me talk about this all the time. I think that pedestrians deserve the right-of-way, and other vehicles besides automobiles also deserve that same attention throughout downtown and throughout the rest of our neighborhoods. This includes greenways, not blueways, but greenways and pathways that achieve that. I think for me, something successful has been advocating for bump outs in our neighborhood. Those cut the crossing time on the street. They squeeze it, so people have to hopefully drive a little bit faster, but if not, you have a little bit more time on the sidewalk to get across the road when a vehicle's coming at you. And this was unpopular opinion, but a regular old stop sign at Franklin really helped with traffic in our neighborhood as well. So I think we owe it to people to explore those options and find out what works best in those certain situations.
Thank you. And Michelle Harris.
So I think one of the first things that we can do is make sure that all of our crosswalks are painted. I think that that's a pretty easy and inexpensive way to help our pedestrian traffic around the city. I also think that if we could raise our technology a little bit and have some cameras for speeding, if we just knew that those cameras were there, we might all slow down just a little bit, especially through downtown and our more traveled areas. Obviously, the roundabouts have slowed traffic down. Even if there's mixed feelings on the roundabouts, it definitely slows traffic down. And not only do we have speed bumps, but now there are speed humps. So I think that there are things in place, but I also think that if we could up our technology a little bit with some basic catching of speeders, maybe that would all make us a little more conscious of rolling through neighborhoods and our busier streets.
And Emily Hunt.
So this is something that I have learned quite a bit about from Ellen and all of the work that she has done already with getting our Traffic and Safety Commission meeting again, the bump outs that she's gotten, and the stop signs that she's gotten. It has been frankly, really great to watch and really educational for myself, and having representatives like Ellen who are out there doing the work and know what the work is and aren't afraid to do the work and don't need to sit on council to do the work are exactly what Valparaiso needs.
And Matt Murphy.
Yeah, so there's a number of options that we see in the city for addressing speeding cars, and I live on Vale Park Road, and it's a major concern for my family. There's speed humps. You can put roads on diets, narrow the road to calm traffic is one method. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all method. You got to listen to residents. Residents are your eyes and your ears for really what's happening out in the neighborhoods. So you really got to listen to them, be engaged, and just be open to different applications. The bump outs that we're trying on near the old YMCA and also on Morgan, those came from neighborhood discussions. So I think we've got to continue to do that and be open to other innovative solutions to calming traffic and slowing down. It's important.
Okay, from speeding to quiet zones. Are you in favor of making Valpo a quiet zone, train horns in parentheses? If no, why? And we're going to start with Michelle Harris.
It's interesting that you asked me this because I only have this answer because my husband was the coroner. And I remember him having to go and deal with young children and who were hit by a train. I know that I live by a train. I know the train noise can sometimes be very taxing and loud. But if it saves 2 little lives, I don't think I need a quiet zone. And this is a true story. It happened in Porter County. So for trains, no, I want them to blare and make sure that they tell everybody that they're coming. As far as brakes and screeching of semis on 49, yes. I'm all for a quiet zone there.
And Emily Hunt.
I would support a quiet zone. I would have to learn more about it. I don't, what the parameters were, what time frame we're talking about, what impact that would have, of course, on railroad safety and our children's safety. That's of the utmost importance. And I think, Michelle's story is telling and aligns with really my belief that if we can save even one life, we have an obligation to do it. So if that was the reason that accident occurred, I think that would have to be a really serious discussion on whether we implemented that quiet zone.
And Matt Murphy.
Yeah, the city looked at quiet zones a few years back. The consensus sort of was it's a really expensive proposition to create these quiet zones throughout the city. And then, typical railroads, we were dealing with the Canadian National. We meet with them and they're like, you can do all this all you want, but we can still blow our horn if we want to. And that happens in a lot of communities. So we thought that it really wasn't worth the cost to go through the process. I understand, I grew up on Franklin Street, 500 block. I heard the horns, every night. And yes, you do get used to them, but I know they're an annoyance, but we've got a lot of train tracks in Valpo. It's imperative that they're safe. I agree with that.
And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you. Quiet zones were actually a really hot feedback that I got on a lot of my text banking too, so a lot of people have similar concerns about that. I have spoken with a lot of advocates for the quiet zone, and I recognize their importance. And again, I live downtown, so I hear the train go off at Washington, at Franklin, at Lafayette 5-6 times. And I think they're important to let you know that they're coming, but these are also the crossings that don't have the arms that come down. So I believe that the quiet zone has a lot to do with the other safety implications that are in place, whether or not they have the arms that come down or not. And I'm not sure jurisdiction on there, but I'm sure it would be between Canadian National and the city to figure out a solution for that. It will be expensive, but it's definitely something worth exploring. And again, safety should be a priority, and let's look into it.
Okay, next question about the veterans community. What kind of plans, involvement, and advocating do you want to do or have done? And we're going to start with Emily Hunt.
I've been so honored to have been invited to several veterans events, and Ellen has been there with me, and Hannah has been there with me, and Barb has been there with me. So ensuring first and foremost that we are involved in that community and that we are listening to that community and what needs they have. My understanding is there's some pretty big needs for transportation for our veterans in this city. Our transportation options are being reduced currently, so to ensure that they have the transportation to their medical appointments or any other appointments they have is really important before we reduce those services even more. And I just also want to take this opportunity to thank our veterans for their service and make sure they know that they have a place here and that that they deserve their council's ear and their representatives' ear.
Thank you. Matt Murphy.
My dad stepped on a landmine in Vietnam in 1967. I was raised by a disabled veteran, and it was an incredible experience for me to see what he had to go through every day just putting his shoes on. And I have immense respect for the veteran community and what they mean to our nation, to our state, and to Valparaiso. We recently moved my dad into the Pines Village, and they have a veterans event every single month, and it is fantastic. I can't think of a better community for a veteran to live in than Valparaiso. When you look at all the different organizations, the transportation we have, all the amenities, absolutely we should look for ways to do more for our veterans, but we're a great community, and I have the utmost respect for veterans, especially my dad, who has a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star.
Thank you, Matt. And Ellen Capitan.
Thank you, and thank you to those that have served and continue to serve, and thank you for choosing Valparaiso as your community to continue having a great life with us. I had the honor of speaking at the VFW, our local 988, a couple weeks ago for the Prisoners of War and Missing in Action Day. It was incredible to hear stories and be able to support that group in that way just by showing up and being there to listen. I do think there are still a lot of resources that we could look into for this community that only keeps growing. And I think this goes back into those conversations on coalitions or commissions for folks that our veterans are currently serving and making sure that they're telling us what they need or where the shortcomings of the city are, and it's our duty to listen to them. I think the conversation also goes to accessibility and making sure that these folks who have representation. Thanks.
Thank you. And Michelle Harris.
One of the things that I think would be the most important is making sure veterans are getting all of the services and items that they should be getting from being a veteran. I know that I had a friend who is a veteran, and she did not even know that she qualified for services until 5 years after she was out of the Army. And so I think one of the most important things is making sure our veterans are aware and receiving the services that are due to them. At Thomas Jefferson Middle School, they put on an incredible, wonderful program every year honoring veterans, and it was so wonderful to see all of them come in. You know, they're at the high school football games. We also have an incredible program through our Porter County Recorder's Office for our veterans, and I've been part of that for the last few years at the Stand Down program, where veterans can come in and have forms recorded for free so that if their loved ones need to access them at some point in the future, it also offers our veterans discounts and other things through that program. I'm not sure.
Okay. Next question. One of the best parts of Valpo is our historic buildings. Do you agree? And if so or not, why? And I think we're going to start with Matt Murphy.
Absolutely. I grew up in a Queen Anne Victorian home on Franklin Street that was built by Colonel DeMott, who started the VU Law School. That was part of my childhood, and it was an incredible home to grow up in, full of history. And downtown Valpo in the central neighborhood had a lot of that history. So did our downtown. And historic preservation is critical to our community. And I know it's hard to do projects that adhere to those historical context, but we are committed to that in the city. So we have a tremendous amount of history. Our Porter County Museum does a great job of promoting and celebrating the history in Valparaiso, the county seat of Porter County. and I'm all for it. We've got some absolutely gorgeous homes in that Washington Street, Franklin Street, Lafayette Street that were really the beginning of this city, and tremendous, so I love it.
And Ellen Capitan.
Historic preservation is one of my passions. I'm really fortunate to live in a 1910s bungalow next to another 1910s bungalow. In the central neighborhood, we have tons of beautiful houses and neighbors that are really committed to letting the history of their homes live on. A lot of people that feel like they're stewards to those buildings and take that really seriously. I think historic preservation deserves a conversation. I know the city has to have a historic preservation commission based on the fact that we have one registered historic home. So I'd like to see that commission meet again and talk about other vulnerable buildings or homes. Some of you may remember me on Facebook trying to save the old sewing shop. That was from 1900, allegedly. Records get burnt or destroyed, so that's what they had on record. It would have been great to see that preserved and made into something new, given it new life and new opportunity. And I'm all in favor of keeping historic buildings historic and beautiful.
And Michelle Harris.
Yes, I think historic preservation is important, and I think it's a key part of keeping the remembrance of the city, and especially those who have lived here their whole life, grown up here, and plan on retiring here. I think that whatever we can do to help historic preservation, to make sure that those buildings and homes stay historic is super important.
And Emily Hunt.
I would agree with Ellen that having a historic preservation committee would be wonderful and imperative, especially again in a city like Valparaiso that is growing. We have a beautiful downtown and we have really historic buildings downtown, and it's really important that our new development maintain that historic nature and aesthetic. I also have had the privilege of watching Barb Domer work on our historic roads like Yellowstone and making sure that those don't crumble and making sure that we're keeping trucks off of those. So that's equally as important as our buildings.
Thank you very much. Next question. According to the EPA, Indiana has the highest level of toxic pollutants in the entire country. What would you do to help reduce our water pollution and air pollution emissions? And we're going to start with Ellen Capitan.
I am very passionate about the environment. I have a background in biology. I've studied the environment. I've been in environmental education. I follow closely what's going on. I get my daily emails from the Environmental Protection Agency to see what kind of grants they're handing out to different organizations, state, city, county programs. We only have one Earth. We only have the dirt underneath us, the water with us, and we need to take care of that. And we need to make sure that we have people that are paying attention. This goes to my idea and my hope that we can see an environmental or a sustainability commission. Those are people with that background that can help find the resources, find the lab work, find the ways of addressing any issues and being preventative as much as we can. It is a shame that Indiana is #1 for something that's not great, but there are ways that we can improve this and ways that we can make sure that we're keeping our earth safe.
Thank you. Michelle Harris.
I agree with Ellen that in whatever we can do, I think that there has to be somebody bigger than me making those decisions or understanding a committee who is going to, have that background knowledge and information to be able to put things into place that's what they do. Like, that's specifically what they do is environmental work. And I think that would be super important. I don't know anybody who doesn't think our environment is important. So anything that we can do as a community to support that is great.
And Emily Hunt.
I'm going to talk about development again, and in that context, I'd like to know what, if any, incentives we're giving to our new developers to make environmentally conscious decisions with our buildings and their development, because that's an option that we should be doing, and if we're not doing it, we must be doing it. I absolutely agree with Ellen's idea on an environmental sustainability commission. I think it's necessary for any city at this point in our Earth's existence. And I also think that we're seeing those pop up all over. So if Valpo wants to stay the best and be the best, we have to keep up with the best and keep ahead of the best. And there's no reason we don't have that right now, and I look forward to seeing it soon.
And Matt Murphy.
Yeah, absolutely. The environment is critical. The city has taken many initiatives to improve the water quality in the city specifically. And recently, I'm proud to say, we were awarded the Green Award in Indiana a couple weeks ago by accelerating Indiana municipalities for our solar panel installation project. That we over 700 solar panels placed on City Hall, although you can't see them. Also out at our Public Works campus and at one of our water plants. And we actually will have a computer screen in City Hall showing how much energy that's offsetting. And over the course of the panels, it will save our residents about $5.3 million. So I'm certainly in favor of those types of initiatives, and I'm in favor of looking at all different sorts of energy sources that can save our taxpayers money.
Thank you, Matt. This will be our final question of the evening, and then we'll move to closing statements for each of you. Are you in favor of gender affirmation for our children or having gender affirmation books in our schools and libraries? And we're going to start with Michelle Harris.
I think this is a tough question because I don't know that the city council makes these makes these decisions. I know that even in my school, the city council doesn't come in and choose the books that are in our library. So I don't feel ethically that I should be answering questions of things that I don't have a say in. I don't think that's fair to voters. I don't feel like it's fair to me. And respectfully, that's not something that city council is involved in.
Okay. Emily Hunt.
I think it's incredibly important for our city and our council to be inclusive. And I think to that extent, there are things we know about books and literature and our children's access to them. We also know that suicide is the second leading cause of death for teens in Indiana, and that rate skyrockets. It almost doubles when those kids are or identify as LGBTQ. And so to that extent, I think that we also know that when kids have access to books and materials that show characters like them and make them feel seen, that suicide rate drops. To the extent I agree with gender affirming care, I agree with providing an inclusive space for our kids and a safe space for our kids, and I trust doctors to participate in that decision, and I trust parents to be part of that decision when able.
Thank you. And Matt Murphy.
I really can't believe you're asking this question of a city council at-large forum. It's got no place in city government. This is to me, a very private topic that parents should be having with their kids. City government, city council, plan commission, board of works, redevelopment commission. Those are the questions we should be getting up here tonight. I don't understand why that question would come before this panel at all.
And Ellen Capitan.
I agree with Matt actually on this one. This question seems like a dog whistle, and I really am not interested in having that conversation. Gender affirming care is not for anyone except for the person that's experiencing a truly emotional and tumultuous time for themselves. Who am I to say anything about that? I think our priority is to keep, as city council, our job is to keep people safe. And in this case, it's to keep children safe. We need to make sure that we have these safe places. We need to make sure that children see a safe environment, an inclusive environment in city council. That's something that we can show in our boards. We can show diversity and show that there's inclusion and there's a place for you at the table. But that question it's inappropriate, and also happy Banned Books Week.
Okay, thank you for those answers. We'll move to closing statements, and we'll go in reverse order of the opening statements, and we'll start with Emily Hunt.
Thank you. I want to thank, again, the League of Women Voters and the Valpo Chamber of Commerce. At the end of the day, in local politics, all of us really want the same thing, which is safe schools, safe streets, and stable taxes. But there's two of us up here who aren't afraid to talk about the issues that are getting in the way of that, and that's Ellen and I. Valpo deserves representatives who will talk about our children and our community's safety without letting party lines get in the way. They deserve representatives who give as much attention to our city's current needs as their current wants, and they deserve a council whose plan doesn't include increasing taxes for less services. I'm a voter who didn't feel like she saw herself. I didn't feel like I was represented. I don't have the connections that might hold some of our other candidates back, and I don't owe anyone any favors. I'm running for Valpo and only Valpo. I'm asking for your vote on or before November 7th. Thank you so much.
And Michelle Harris.
So thank you all for coming. This is tough. You know, it's tough being up here and answering these questions, but I survived, so we're good. I feel like I'm in a unique position being I'm the only candidate who actually teaches in our school district. I was a single mom living in Valparaiso, and I have a firsthand perspective on the needs of our community, especially being a teacher and seeing all of the kids that have come through, dealing with the families, and really having an understanding and background on what our community needs. I also know how incredible our community is. I think we need a city council who is willing to work together towards greater things. And I do not believe that spending time being divisive is somehow going to create inclusion. We need a team that is going to bring the community together and not further divide it. Thank you.
And Ellen Capitan.
In 2023, we see a lot of the same people, the same names, the same appointed boards, the same viewpoints, all leading our city towards a future based on limited perspective, limited demographic, and personal interests. My candidacy is an opportunity to make a difference. It's an opportunity to show the community what diverse backgrounds and perspectives can bring to city leadership. Through this campaign, I've learned that people want to be involved and they want to be heard. This is that time to recognize and engage these voices of all of our residents in local government and make a benefit for the entire community. There has never been a better time to bring balance to city leadership. Join me and let's bring changes together. Let's get the representation we deserve. Join me and be part of Valparaiso that will boldly embrace the future while remaining a steward to the qualities that make our community unique. Thank you.
And Matt Murphy.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ellen, Emily, and Michelle for a great discussion. I just want to leave you tonight with, this city council at large, it's really an important role in our city. But the most important office that voters will be going to vote for on Tuesday, November 7th is mayor. The mayor sets the agenda, the direction of the community, and I support John Costas 100%. He has positioned this city for excellence. He is a transformational leader. I've served on his leadership team. I've served alongside him, and I'm excited for his candidacy. But it's not a sure thing, and we've got to get out and support Mayor Costas and the Costas 2.0 agenda. It's a great plan. Check it out. Let's get out and support John Costas for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank all of you, because without your participation, we wouldn't have a great community like we do. I also want to thank two people who did a great job for us tonight. Linda and Carolyn were our timekeepers. Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to the Valparaiso Chamber of Commerce. Don't forget to vote. Absentee in-person voting in Indiana starts October 11th. To vote absentee by mail, you must have your ballot submitted by October 26th. And Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., get out and vote, and thank you for coming.